Alright, folks. I'm still figuring out some microphone difficulties. But, hopefully... Oh, and apparently I'm also sorting out some drive-in theater difficulties because it is not playing the thing it's supposed to be playing. Alright, folks. I'm gonna have to go back to the other video player. Still figuring out some microphone difficulties. Welcome to New Haven Foamer. I will be winning in a minute, hopefully, when the drive-in starts working as intended. Oh, and I need to fix chat. Hold on. Hello, Chase. Chat is not working in the video window because I forgot to update the URL. There we go. Hello, Jesse. What do we think of the chat window being really tall? I changed that last stream because I thought it'd be nice to be able to see more of the chats. Hello, that Niagara guy. I always put the chat window on the screen itself so that when people are... Hello, Three Rivers. When people are watching the replay, if for whatever reason it doesn't save the actual live chat, it'll still be in the video. Hello, Vintage Renewed. Hello, Lego Levi. Welcome, everyone. Yes, we can start the party now. And let's do that, actually. Which one of these is the right? Is it this one? I think it's this one. There we go. Okay. We've got the drive-in. Power up the layout. Hello, Southwest. I'm doing alright. There was a bit of a delay because I was trying to get my phone working as a wireless microphone so I could carry it around with me. Hold on, Chessie. There you go. I was trying to get my phone working as a remote mic so I could carry it around with me and be heard better, but I could not get it working in time. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, so I guess we're stuck with the old mic. I am probably going to talk a little bit quieter than normal because I tend to give myself a sore throat shouting during these things. Spy 13. I don't know where you Spy 13. It's not on the layout. Rivarossi wheels that don't press fit very well anymore. Well, the first thing I would check is if they're cracked, because old Rivarossi plastic does tend to crack. I don't know, super glue, I guess. Honestly, my best advice for working on old Rivarossi engines is keep a stock of random old Rivarossi parts, because you will need to swap stuff out. 2-rail O-scale is super duper cool, Train Fan. I just wish that I had the room and money for it. What model do you have on the layout? It's number 12. At least that's the one that's set up to run. No, this is 12. Model Rail Fan. It does have some parts from 13 in it now, though. It has 13's drivers. Yeah, a lavalier mic on the shirt. I may have to start doing that. Right now what you're hearing is just the camera audio, which is not really ideal. But as yet, I haven't figured out a mic that I can walk around with. The 260 Bachmann announced? You mean the N-scale one? They made that a while back and then they discontinued it and they brought it back for a while. It looks neat. If I buy any N-scale steamer, it's probably going to be the new 19th century 10-wheeler. It's the secret third thing, Jimothy. Hello, MVP Matt. Thank you for the super chat. What would I do if I got the crappy PlayArt 260 German train thing? Either paint it up in Conrail colors just to be funny, or try and make it really detailed just to be funny. Yeah, the new old style 460 from Bachmann, both the HO and N-scale versions, I'm really, really interested in. There's no photos of the HO one yet, but I have seen some photos of the N-scale painted samples at train shows, and they look really good. Like, that might get me back into N-scale. I'm gonna get the train running. A Jimothy scale locomotive. What do I have that would qualify as Jimothy scale? Okay, I kind of have something. So, take a look at this 440, right? Fairly long. The proportions are pretty heavy on length, not so much on height and width. You could say that this is sort of the Jimothy version of that. It's very short. It's not quite as Jimothy as those LGB 240s that look like somebody squashed a USRA Mikado, but this is what I've got at the moment. Yeah, like the huge helicopter video. I could like try and see how far it could jump or something. I did hear about the new HO quote-unquote Sierra number 3 from Bachmann. It's not going to be an accurate Sierra number 3. My connection who has a connection at Bachmann says it's going to be a Union Pacific prototype. They didn't say which one. How's the turntable going? Oh, don't remind me. I have not made any progress on that in weeks. Yeah, considering Jimothy scale. I put it on the poll as a joke because I always just put a random meme as an option on the poll. But once I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, you know what, actually, Jimothy scale does kind of make sense as a term for, like, models that are not scaled proportionally. Like, a lot of LGB stuff in G-scale is really squashed in the length direction so that it can go around really sharp turns. Hold on. Let me look something up. If you ever hang out around Garden Railway, folks, you will eventually encounter this. This is what I would consider a Jimothy scale locomotive. Bearing in mind that the closest thing I can find to a prototype for it is a USRA Mikado that's just been shortened. So I'm considering that Jimothy scale. Jimothy scale Sierra number 3. Collins, the Lionel, no, not Lionel, sorry. The one you're talking about, the little German one, is actually pretty much accurate for its prototype. There is a real-life Jimothy locomotive. Yeah, it does look very cartoonish. I'm pretty sure the drivers are borrowed from their Mogul. Hello, Robert. Actually, Robert, while you're here, we should run your 10-wheeler that I just finished. Oh, you had one of those, Chase. Yeah, I'm considering that Jimothy scale. Yeah, we have 1218 at home. I looked it up. I couldn't find any real Union Pacific 1218 that was a steam engine, so they may have just made that number up. The Canadian Railway Museum in Montreal. I'm gonna have to look that up now. Is there a picture of that side? Is it a 240? Oh, wait. Is this it? It is! It's the real Jimothy locomotive. Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. Chassis system, it's G-scale and it's LGB, so it's really sturdily built and reliable. So, it does look goofy. Where did the page go? It does look very goofy. But honestly, that's not a bad deal for one of these. I'm not going to buy it because I like my G-scale stuff to look a little bit more scale proportionate. Ooh, that's nice. These Moguls are probably my favorite LGB engine. The lighting on these pictures is not very good, but it's such a nice engine. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The Bachmann Big Hauler is not Jimothy scale. The Bachmann Big Hauler is actually a pretty accurate model of its prototype. Hold on. So the Bachmann Big Hauler is based on this. And it is actually pretty dang spot on for it in 1:22.5 scale. That's why it's so long compared to a lot of G-scale engines, because it is actually accurately proportioned while a lot of them are not. Any locomotives that are longer than they should be? That is an interesting question. I haven't measured it, but I have a theory that the Lionel... Oh no, you're right, Vintage Renewal. I have not experienced the Sumpter Mallet yet. I can't afford one of those. I have a theory that the Lionel scale Southern 4501 from the 90s, the super accurate one, is actually slightly long. Like, hold on a sec, I'll grab mine. So this is the Lionel Southern 4501. Gorgeous, gorgeous model. All the details are accurate to 4501. However, I can't shake... Maybe it's just because I'm used to looking at Jimothy style models. But if we look up the real 4501, I feel like the real one looks a little bit stumpier. I don't know. Maybe it's an optical illusion. I gotta find a good picture. Here we go. So here's the real 4501. And then here's the Lionel one. I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about this one looks longer. I don't know, maybe it is scale and I'm just looking at it from different angles. A Jimothy scale 414 part. The Lionel G-scale Atlantic, let me look that up. I think that's actually pretty close to some of these tabs. Because the prototype that it's based on is the Pennsylvania E6, which does kind of look Jimothy scale in real life because it does have a very kind of stocky profile. Let's see if I can get this picture to go a little bigger. So that's the Lionel G scale. Wait, no it's not. That's the Lionel O scale one. Okay, this person put the wrong picture in here. Never mind. Hold on. That's not very good quality. Here we go. Well, Worth Point is always hard to get the pictures to load, right? Here we go. Okay. So... apart from the blasphemy of lettering a Penn State prototype as New York Central. That's the Lionel one. Oh, I'm not in the browser window. So that's the Lionel Atlantic. E6. Let me try to find one from the same angle, roughly. Well, that's the other side. But, like, the real E6 is pretty short. Honestly, the real E6 is kind of a Jimothy version of a K4. Boiler is lower on the model. Let me see. I can't quite tell. I don't think the proportions are exact, but I don't think it's significantly shorter. I think maybe they just shrunk the whole thing down and then made the cab bigger again. Yeah, the E6 is a nice looking model. Yeah, the Alco Mogul, everybody seemed to love that when it was out originally in N-Scale. I never had one. I didn't really collect that much N-Scale stuff, but I'm really tempted to now. Debating on painting HO track. Do you have an airbrush? That makes it a lot faster. Or, I mean, I guess you could use spray paint if you're willing to deal with the fumes. I don't know. I painted this track by hand. Let me switch back to the camera. I painted this track by hand after ballasting it. So I got kind of like, I just thinned down some cheap brown paint and just kind of slopped it on there. The downside is the sides of the rails aren't completely covered. Like, there's some spots like here where it's a bit patchy. But from a distance, I think it looks okay. Any live Steam for G-Scale? I would love to at some point, but I have to wait till I have a G-Scale layout to run it on, and I'd have to wait till I can afford it, because live Steam is very, very expensive. I have run them a couple of times, and they're super cool. Yeah, you can use paint markers for track. I think Woodland Scenics actually sells a paint marker specifically for track. Yeah, the Bachmann HO Moguls are nice. I have a couple of broken ones of those that I'm planning on fixing up and selling, unless I end up keeping them. But Robert, if you're still here, maybe I'll run your 10-wheeler. I am quite proud of how well I got that to run. I'll wait till 12 comes back around. Favorite diesel locomotive? I like Alco switchers. Like the little S2 or something, I think I've got on the siding there. I don't know, I like weird early diesel locomotives. Like the Fairbanks Morse ones. Clinchfield Railroad. I don't know much about it, but it seems neat. I've actually sat in the cab of a Clinchfield engine, the one at the B&O Museum. Alright, let's run Robert's engine. Oops. So this is the locomotive from my latest video about the Mantua motor mount trick. It's a Mantua 10-wheeler. The tender, I believe, is off of a Roundhouse engine, I think. Robert, if he's in the chat, can probably confirm that. But this is the second one of these Mantuas that I've done the full DCC sound conversion on. Yeah, the beep is cool. Alright, Robert, here's your locomotive. We're going to do a live test run. Pennsylvania Banshee whistle, as requested. Not my personal favorite whistle, but it's not bad. good speaker makes all the difference. On a bad speaker, it sounds ear-splitting. On a decent speaker like this one, it's not too bad. Next O-Gauge video, I don't know, I don't really plan these that far in advance until I start making them. I want to do an update on the O-Gauge layout, and I want to start doing some locomotive reviews. I don't know, that will probably be the next video I work on, either that or the HO Prairie. Okay, it is from a Roundhouse engine. That's what I thought, because I thought I recognized that. I've seen that on some Roundhouse engines before. It's a good tender. I might pick one of those up for a project. Anyway, let's get it moving. Actually, a little fast. Yeah, this is a Mantua one. Actually, let me slow it down a little bit. I'm still getting all the programming dialed in on this one. I usually try to program engines so that about halfway up the speed steps, about 60, is a fairly normal running speed. So I think that's decent. Robert, if you ever want to mess with that and make it go faster, you can change CV5. That sets the top speed. I have it set to 150 right now. It goes up to 255. Opinion on B&O name change. I don't love it. I feel like it makes it sound like a generic railroad museum and less distinctive. But it's still a really cool museum, whatever they end up calling it. I just feel like B&O made more sense as the name for it because it is primarily B&O stuff. Mammoth, yeah, I've heard of them. My friend Terry up in Canada has a few of those. Hopeless Rail Mantic. That's a cool username. The Bachmann 460, there was a USRA 060. Yes, unfortunately, I have seen that. Railroader MOW update, I have no clue. I did see it go by that they're adding F units, which will be really cool, because that one F unit mod was not as nice a quality model as some of the other mods. Thank you, Imtuni Trains. I've actually got two of those. I have my heavily customized one, which is in my own paint scheme, and then I have the Denver and Rio Grande Bumblebee one over here. Hello, Gilded Rail. I have seen some of those O-scale or O-gauge live steamers. I believe Terry has a couple of those as well. They'd be a bit large for my O-gauge layout, but I guess, yeah, technically, theoretically, I could run live steam on the O-gauge layout if I wanted to do it indoors. Oh, cool, Robert. Yeah, I do like a lot of the Baltimore and Ohio paint schemes. Oh, thanks, One True Nub. I'm so glad. A Jimothy scale F unit? Yes! Oh, you know what? Yes. Hold on. I think I know what you're talking about. Here we go. There we go. Jimothy scale F units. Bingo. I love it. These are made by a company called RMT. They originally made something that they called the Beep, not to be confused with the real Beep. This one was a very short GP9. And then for this one they made the Beef, which is sometimes erroneously referred to as the Feet, which is a shortened F unit. Oh, nice, Train Fan. Yeah, that video was fun. I'm trying to remember whose idea it was for the... I think it might have been my idea for the locomotive... Or not the locomotive, sorry. For the RC car to drag me on the chair. I remember as soon as I got around the corner, I stopped the car, but the chair kept going and I crashed into a shelf and I actually broke it. But it was like literally almost my last day there, so whatever. That's not what you had in mind? Oh, so there's more than one. Does look a little bit like a box cab. Those are O-gauge. Honestly, should I get a set of those little Jimothy F units for the memes? Maybe I'll get one and paint it in like raccoon stripes. That would be funny. I really like the chuff sound of this thing. I'll have to read back the CV. I don't remember what chuff sound I put. I think it might just be the default one. But that chuff with this speaker sounds really good. 2-axle Jeeps. Beeps. That's what RMT called them. I don't remember what exactly. I think it was short for Baby Jeep. Hence Beef, which was the Baby F unit. I couldn't kit bash an HO one. Anybody remember that SMT mainline video where he like stuck multiple F units together into this like super duper long F unit? It'd be like the opposite of that. Yes, one true nub. This is Tsunami. I guess no, this is HO scale. This particular model is one of the old Mantua 460s, so it is a little bit oversized for HO. But everything else on the layout is HO. We can switch locomotives again. You know what? Maybe I'll run number 7. I didn't get a chance to run it last stream, I don't think. Oh, yeah, the Super Chief. I couldn't remember what it was called. But yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of. Why is it still moving? Oh, because I didn't turn the speed all the way down. That would explain it. Alright, Robert, I'm going to get ready to pack this one up, and then I just need to finish putting the silent decoder in your other GP9 to be the helper engine for this one, and then I think your stuff is pretty much done. Then we can start figuring out how I'm going to ship it back. The 460 from Last of the Giants. I actually have a brass model of that that's taken apart for painting right now. Someday, when we're all old and gray, I will finish the turntable. Rapido's making Mexican coaches. I didn't see that. Hello, Train Street. Train fan, the Athearn Consolidation is a Maryland and Pennsylvania prototype. I think it was a standard Baldwin engine in the early 1890s. Let me find a picture. The 440 and 260 are just, are essentially fantasy engines. They just put different wheel arrangements under the same boiler. I have found prototypes that are sort of close for both of them, but nothing exact. So this, I believe, is the prototype for the Roundhouse Athearn 280s. Obviously, their version is not as detailed, but I'm pretty sure that that is, in fact, what they're based on. So they do have... Oh yeah, Gilded Rail, and it's in the game Railroader as well. Let me see if I can find a picture of that. Here we go. Oh, nope, that's the Mogul. Hold on. There's CR3 in the game, that's cool. There's the Casey Jones engine in the game. Railroader does have a lot of cool historic engines. Here it is, yeah. That's the same engine. That's what the Athearn one is based on. Hello, Crazy Spud. Hello, LMR. I'm a fast typer. When I was a kid, my parents said they'd get me my first laptop, but only if I learned how to type with all 10 fingers. That was my motivation. Because I used to be a hunt and peck typer, one with one finger at a time, but I got pretty fast with it. And then I got an IBM T43, one of the early ThinkPads. And I used that thing for a long time. It was Windows XP. It could not handle any games. River Rossi, Casey Jones. I'm actually... I don't know if he's in the chat, but there's somebody I've been talking to about potentially commissioning a Remoter and DCC job on one of those. I have always been kind of finding excuses not to get one because the gearing and motor setup on them is really weird. Train fan, actually, yes, I have. I'll tell that story in a few minutes. But the weird thing with the River Rossi Casey Jones engines is the motor sits vertically in the cab and directly drives the worm gear on it, directly drives the gear on the rear axle. It's geared very fast, and it leaves no room in the cab. So it's really not an ideal situation. I've heard of some people using CD player motors to successfully make them run better, so I might try that. But that's why I don't have one yet. Hello, James. Do I have any Ferteschi engines? No, I haven't, but I'm thinking about trying one of those 280s that they make. Right, yes. The story about being scammed. So, this was a year or two ago. I was looking for an MTH Premier 440. This was before I had the 999 one. And I found one for sale on a Facebook group. It was one of the backdated, like, Old West style ones. And the guy agreed to sell it to me for a suspiciously cheap price. Like, I think like $200 or $300. Trying to remember exactly how it played out. But, like, he listed it for an already decent deal. I talked to him through Messenger. He was very knowledgeable. He shared pictures of all sides of the model, so I knew he actually had the thing in hand. And he finally agreed to quite a lowball offer. And then as soon as I sent him the money through PayPal, he disappeared off the face of the earth. Couldn't get a hold of him through Messenger. Couldn't get a hold of him through email. Couldn't do anything. After a while, I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I get that people don't check their messages every day, but it's been like a week, and this guy is just completely not there. So I started an appeal through PayPal to get my money back. And they did eventually give it to me because when you file a dispute with PayPal Goods and Services, both parties have to provide evidence of their side of the story. So I sent them, like, the whole chat log of everything that we had talked about through Messenger. And he didn't send them anything, obviously, because he disappeared with the money. And after, I think, 30 days, when he didn't respond, then they automatically just figured that I won the case by default. That's how it works. If one person simply never responds after 30 days, they just rule in favor of the one person who did respond. So I did thankfully get my money back after much headache, but I didn't get my 440. And then I ended up paying a normal price for one at a train show a few months later. Anyway, that's my story of getting scammed. Moral of the story, for one thing, always use PayPal goods and services or some other kind of service where you can get your money back if you get scammed. Don't ever send money directly to someone. And B, don't buy stuff on Facebook groups. Anyway, let me see what chats I missed. And you know what the Bachmann 260 is based on? The HO scale one, like the Alco one that's in Railroader? I believe it is a Green Bay and Western prototype. I don't remember the exact number. But it's... I'll have to look it up, but it is definitely Green Bay and Western. Yeah, Chase, I saw the email. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. I've been really busy. 999 is here? Yeah, Train Fan, if you go back and watch the O-Gauge stream, I'll do another one soon, but for now, if you go back and watch the one that I did before, we ran 999. Howdy not, Gavin. The domes on 7, I'm not sure if they're brass. This was the boiler, at least, is from the Great Northern version of this model, and it came with the domes like that. The cab is from a different version. This is kind of a Frankenstein of different versions of this Bachmann model, as well as other parts. The headlight and cowcatcher are aftermarket. Those aren't Bachmann parts. But the domes are original to that boiler. Yeah, Gilded Rail. Bachmann kind of has a history of doing that, where they'll make something based on a prototype and then not offer it lettered for that prototype. Collins Walker, I don't own any Rapido engines. I've done reviews on a few of them, and I do like them. The prices have just always been too high to justify actually buying one. When do we do a live at the PN? Oh, we should do that. Next time we go to the PN, I should figure out how to live stream that. Train Fan, yeah, Facebook is kind of what Craigslist used to be. It's kind of like a marketplace, especially, is kind of a wild west of just random people selling stuff. I have done some good business on there. I've bought and sold some stuff that's gone well. I actually bought my car on there. The main thing I would say is, if you're going to deal on Marketplace, always meet in person. Don't trust anyone to ship you anything, because there's really no repercussions for them if they don't. If you're going to do something shipped, ideally do it through something like eBay, where they will automatically handle all of the disputes and everything, but at the very least, do PayPal goods and services. BLI GS4, yeah, that'd make it good, because they did an America 250, or not a 250, but a 200. They did an American Freedom Train GS4 back in the 70s. So yeah, that seems appropriate. Wait, Bachmann did make a Green Bay and Western? I didn't see that. Yeah, LMR, most of these modern 4.4s had the non-fluted domes. There were 2 other dome variations. Most of them had one or the other. I believe the Great Northern paint scheme was the only one that had the fluted domes. Yeah, there's some wacky vehicles on Facebook Marketplace. I kind of want to start a second channel for just random non-train related stuff, because I would absolutely do one of those videos where I just look at random vehicles on Marketplace and laugh at all the crazy stuff that's on there. Because I look through there fairly regularly just for the entertainment value. The Bachmann 260. Yeah, the Green Bay and Western one. Yeah, I had a Canadian National version of that a long time ago. And the 2 that I have now are both Southern, but most of the lettering was kind of chipping off, so I just scraped the rest of it off, so now they're mostly unlettered. Do I still have the Bachmann Chinese Mikado? No, I sold that. I sold that around the time that I moved. It was a nice engine. It just didn't get very much runtime on my layout, and there was somebody who watched the channel who was really interested in it, so I gave him a good deal on it. I've seen recent pictures of it. It is happy and healthy. Yeah, it would be funny to do a Facebook Marketplace video. There's just so many people who have already done that. I feel like I'd be kind of going over well-trodden ground, but maybe I'll do it at some point. I am thinking about... I kind of want to start a second channel for, like, RC car-related stuff. Call it, like, Red Oak Racing or something. Gilded Rail, yeah, the low boiler 460 is Ma and Pa, 27 or 28, I think. The high boiler is not an exact match for Sino 377. They did do the Williams one letter to 377, but the high boiler Bachmann one, as far as I know, does not match any specific prototype. It's just like a generic Baldwin engine. The closest thing I've been able to find to it is Nevada Northern 40, but the drivers are still too small for that. And Toonie, yeah, they are rare and they are expensive. The last, like, 3 train shows I've gone to, somebody's been trying to sell the same Bachmann Chinese Mikado in the original box and plastic wrapping for, like, $300, and nobody's buying it. Okay, Tristan, yeah, what we'll have to do... we'd have to try it. What I would probably have to do is just stream it directly from my phone, rather than dragging the whole laptop and everything down there. Hello, CDM Trains. Yes, I have tons of projects. And Tuna, yeah, if you're in the New England area, next time you go to a train show, it will almost certainly be there. Currently starting your car arc. That'll be fun. See, the thing with cars is... I've never been as into cars as I am into trains, but I do like them a lot, especially American muscle cars. I did have a Mustang a few years back. I just noticed the audio is peaking terribly. Let me turn that down a little bit. Yeah, Tristan, I'm pretty sure you saw it at the Model Train Expo. The Bachmann 060 is based on a standard USRA design that was used by a whole bunch of railroads. Okay, the audio should be a little bit less clipping now. Oh, Antuni, that's a bummer. I'm sure there's other ones floating around out there. But yeah, this one tends to make the rounds of all the train shows in the Northeast. Troy's leaving Providence Northern? Why? I mean, obviously we don't have to do we don't have to have the whole discussion on a public stream. We can do it in the group chat, but that's surprising. The Bachmann Grand Canyon set. Yeah, I think I did see that. The Lionel Polar Express, probably not, if I'm honest. The only reason that I would ever get another one would be to make a video about it, because I forgot to film the one that I briefly had. But yeah, I don't have any desire at all to get another one of those. Hello, Josh Cannon. I'm doing alright. How are you? Oh yeah, the air pump. Actually, yeah, I meant to run the train and I got busy talking and forgot. And I didn't even punch it into the DCC throttle. Look at that. I do really like this engine. I think I've got the details and everything really nice. Although I would still love to find one of the unlettered Russia iron ones without the striping if I could. The HO scale 19th century 460 prototype. I have heard rumors, and I am not saying that any of these are true. Let me mute this so I can talk without chatting. I'm not saying that any of these are true, but I have heard rumors from a friend of a friend of a friend that it's going to be a Union Pacific prototype from the 1890s. And that it will not be the exact same prototype as the N-scale one. An RS-11. I actually have an RS-11. It's just waiting on a sound decoder. Yeah, Chase, if you're going to do a movie-accurate Polar Express, probably best to start with the Bachmann one. The IHC Mother Hubbard and 440. So, 440 is kind of an interesting story. The IHC Mogul that we all know and love is based on the Southern Pacific M4 class, and it's actually quite an accurate model of that, including the huge headlight. The real one had a huge headlight too. The 440 is the same boiler with just the front axle taken out and a four-wheel pilot truck put on it. And that actually does have a prototype because Southern Pacific did the exact same thing. I think it's called the E23 class. Let me look it up. It's not an exact match for the IHC model because the real E23 had larger drivers than the Mogul, while the IHC one doesn't. But by and large, it's not that far off. Yeah, here we go. Oh, that's Pinterest. I hate it when I go, oh, that's the exact image I need, and then go to click on it and it's Pinterest. But, no, that's the Mogul. Here we go. Okay, wow, it is all the way over to the right side of the frame, which is not very convenient for my purposes. Let me move the chat over here. But, yeah, so that's the prototype for the IHC 440. Not exact, but pretty close. The Mother Hubbard is just the Mogul converted to a Camelback. I don't think that has a specific prototype. They just wanted to make a Camelback, so they just took one of their existing models and put a different cab on it. Oh, a Proto 2000 Burke. Those are nice, yeah. Any O-gauge trains? Yeah, Josh, I actually have a whole O-gauge layout. I did a stream on there a little while back. I'm going to do another one soon, but I need to figure out a different mic situation. But if you want to see it, you can go back and watch the O-gauge stream. Oh, right, yeah, there was a question that went by in chat a little while ago about the Bachmann N-scale 440, and I forgot to answer it. So yeah, I had one of those as a kid. They are not good. They weigh almost nothing. The motor has 2 speeds, off and a bazillion miles an hour. They won't pull anything because they don't weigh anything. And they have a heck of a hard time staying on the track and picking up power. They really are just kind of the worst. I wish that I could like them, but they're just not there. Most of them don't even run. Yeah, the IHC Camelback is nice because it is literally just the IHC Mogul, which is kind of a known quantity and everybody likes those. Literally all they did, I think it's even the same boiler, they just made a different cab and put it on there and grafted on the big Wooten firebox. Yeah, it is kind of French-shaped. I do like these larger late 440s. CC Studios, I do keep some of them in the bookcases under there. I also keep some of them on a shelf over my desk over here. But if I take the camera off the mount here. So, in there, I've got some of them. And then, sorry about the zoom, it's on a cable. And then up here over my desk, I've got some more. Removing the motor and pushing the locomotive with a passenger car. I do have an O-scale engine that doesn't have a motor in it that I push with a diesel sometimes. Any mass steam locomotive in HO for people to buy? I mean, I feel like Sierra number 3 is the obvious solution, the obvious answer to that. The IHC Tyco 280 is actually based on a USRA 080 switcher. It's slightly overscale, and then they just made the pilot longer to fit a two-wheel leading truck. But you can tell that it was originally a switcher because it's got 3 domes. It's got 2 sand domes, one for forward, one for reverse. Pensy slop. I'll keep an eye out for one at the train shows, Tristan. Did I start modifying Atherton Blue Box engines? Yeah, I tinkered with a few of those in my youth. I actually had a GP9 that someone gave me that had been remotored, but it had a persistent buzzing noise only when the shell was on, so that was one of my first experiences with trying to diagnose problems. I think what I eventually figured out was that the motor was sitting slightly crooked and the flywheel was touching the shell, so I was able to shim it slightly and then it was much quieter. Yeah, USRA 080 to a 280 does make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm pretty sure some real railroads probably did that. GJ Central, most of the track on here is not soldered. I do kind of wish that I'd soldered it, but as long as you're not painting the track like I did, it shouldn't really be an issue. Usually, as long as you have feeder wires every few feet, usually rail joiners are sufficient, as long as they're fresh ones that sit on there pretty tight. Oh, it's based on a CN... Well, yeah, the CNJ did have some of the Camelbacks, but that exact model, I don't think they ever had any 260s. So it's kind of a generic one. I did see the Bachmann 19th Century 460 announcement. It's not going to be a fully accurate CR3, but they are lettering it as that, and I'm happy to see any I'm happy to see any 19th century steam coming to the HO market. The Colorado one's interesting. I didn't know they had any standard gauge. Any favorite narrow gauge locomotives? I like the Eureka and the Glenbrook. Collins Walker, no, these switches are all manual. I didn't even put ground throws. They're Pico switches, so they automatically snap to one side or the other, so I can literally just do that. Colorado Midland it might have been. I'm pretty sure they had standard gauge. The IHC 210-2, I have no idea. I have not looked into that one. How many of the new Bachmann 460s? I definitely want both the HO and N-scale ones. Given that the HO one has only just been announced, I'll probably end up getting the N-scale one first. I'll probably get the Thatcher Perkins and N-scale. Although the Central Pacific one looks pretty nice too. And then the HO one, I'm waiting on what paint scheme I'm going to get to see what the prototype is, and then I'll just pick whichever paint scheme is whichever paint scheme represents a prototype that is dimensionally closest to the model. So, like, if they end up doing the older style Sierra 3 looking thing, if it looks passively close to Sierra 3, I'll get Sierra 3. If it ends up looking like kind of an older, like 1860s one with the really far back rear driver, maybe I'll get the Central Pacific. If it ends up looking like the N-scale one, I'll just get another Thatcher Perkins. It was the Midland, okay. They're number 65. Let me look that up. Because Bachmann did make a quote-unquote 260 that was just their USRA 060 with a pilot truck added. So if there's actually a prototype for that, that would be hilarious. Well, I'll be darned, there is. No. I don't want to acknowledge any harmful description, I just want to see the train. Okay. Dang. That literally is the Bachmann Mogul Not a Mogul made out of a USRA 060. That's pretty cool. I did not know there was a prototype for that. I guess there really is a prototype for everything. What's wrong with the browser? Why is it not showing? Let me reload the page. There we go. I don't know why it blanked out. Yeah, that's super cool. Southern Pacific Geese Legend with the red nose. Actually, that GP9 I was talking about that somebody gave me when I was a kid was one of those. I do like that paint scheme. I should get another one. Next time I get another EMD, I'll probably look for that scheme. The 260 is there, what about the 460? I don't think the 460, at least the USRA 060 based one, has any prototype, because if you look at that model, let me find one. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to find, because Bachmann 460 is going to bring out some other stuff. Andy Tender. Old. Wow, that is a borked big hauler. Wait. Here we go. Yeah, see, if you look... Is the chat still on that side? Yeah. If you look at there, the second pair of pilot wheels is actually in between the cylinders, which wouldn't work in real life because it wouldn't have any room to move side to side. So I don't think it's possible for there to be a prototype for that. It might have been a U.S. Army one, but those were still those were still a variant of the same USRA design. I think the U.S. Army versions had a slightly shorter stack and a different smoke box front, but they were mostly still the same design. Maine 2-footers are super cool. I'd love to go up to Maine and see those at some point. I believe at least one of those U.S. Army 060s. James, I believe I do have a community tab on here. I thought I did. If I don't, I should enable that. Hold on. Yeah, ooh, Tristan, yeah, that would be super fun. I'm pretty sure that I do have a community tab. Yeah, I do. Yeah, Crazy Spud's been posting in there. So yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, next to the subscribe button there should be a community button that'll take you to it. And I do have a private Discord server, but it's not... It's only for a few people that I play games with. It's not public. So the community tab is probably as close as I'm going to get to a public Discord server. Oh, the 1800 style 280s. Are you talking about the Roundhouse one? Because those are actually really good. Like, I know they're old tooling, but they run really sweet. As long as you don't need DCC, those are fantastic. Josh Cannon, yep. It doesn't show up when you go to someone's channel. Are you not? That's weird. I don't know what to tell you then. It must be a bug on YouTube's part. Tristan, I haven't really been playing Railroads Online anymore because it's so glitchy and the multiplayer is so bad. It really doesn't work very well with more than one player. But once we start doing Railroader, then you can definitely join us. The multiplayer on that works much better. I didn't see make any NDM Steam locomotives. I don't know, they might have. Or you might have seen a custom painted one. Yeah, the tenders on those are very oversized. Hold on, James. Let me figure out if I can put a link in chat. Yeah, it's just youtube.com/@redoaktrains/community. Crazy Spud, it's entirely up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable with. I mean, your viewers don't have to know you're under 18. Yeah, Strasbourg 90. The Bachmann model isn't actually based on the Thatcher Perkins. It's based on a Union Pacific prototype that had fairly small drivers, so they just lettered it Thatcher Perkins as an option because it's Bachmann and they'll put any paint scheme on there that they can get away with. Josh Cannon, I'm using my NCE Power Cab. Bachmann making Diesel 10, I didn't know they were. I really don't keep up with their Thomas and Friends news. I know, I feel like I'm supposed to be into it as a train person, but the Thomas stuff has really never interested me. I am a Pixar Cars kid through and through. Ever seen the HOKD logging caboose? I think I might actually have one of those somewhere. I think I have a kit of that, but I never got around to building. Welcome back, Chessie. I'm actually going to make a quick run to the restroom. I will turn the sound of the train back on. And everybody behave in here.
Yeah, Diecast Lightning McQueen would be funny. I actually have the Sheriff hidden over by the station. I have him facing the wrong way, but... There we go. I don't know where I got that. I just found it in a box of train parts one day, but it's about the right scale, so I just used it. Welcome, Anne-Marie Elizabeth Rose Volowski. Congratulations, folks. You managed not to have an argument about what constitutes a nerd while I was gone. That's progress. I do like switching chassis. I don't do it a whole lot on this layout because there's not really much to switch apart from just the yard. I really designed this layout for display running, but I did include some industrial sidings on the O-gauge layout. Yeah, Sheriff's looking a little out of it. That's one of the reasons why I usually have him facing the other way. Does he arrest the Penske engines on the layout? Sure, why not? I don't usually have Penske engines in the layout, so he doesn't really get much to do. I should get some other cars characters. I have an O-scale Chevy tow truck that is extremely close to the one that Mater is based on. So I'm thinking about painting that up as Mater, but as like a realistic truck. Yeah, it's odd that Bachmann chose the 19th century livery for Sierra number 3. I think that's supposed to be like right after it had arrived in California when they were building the Sierra Railway. Oh, speaking of Sierra number 3, look what's on the driveway. I guess maybe they figured it would make the wooden cab a little bit less out of place. Oh yeah, there's my there's my joke Bachmann page that I made. I made that when I discovered that you could use inspect element in the browser to make text on web pages say different things. The Spectrum N-Scale one, those I remember having traction tire issues. That's probably why you're having trouble with it not pulling stuff. Also because N-Scale is it's difficult to get traction on anything N-Scale. But yeah, those were really nice looking engines, but they were not, like, it's N-Scale, so it has limitations. The HO ones are much, much better. $57 is actually a great price for an IHC Mother Hubbard. I would definitely go for that. Yeah, it is my own video, Strasbourg 90, because if I play anything other than my own videos, I get a copyright claim for it. So literally the only thing that is safe to play on the stream on the drive-in is my own stuff. I would love to play like old Pentrex videos or whatever. But no, unfortunately, YouTube's copyright has gotten too good. Yeah, Heavy Tanker, it seems like larger N-scale ones don't have as big of a problem, but yeah, I think the smallest N-scale locomotive that runs decently is probably the Athearn Roundhouse 280s and 260s. I don't get the problem is this is an exact one out of Bachmann's factory photo studio. The Train World bag that I used for that was one that I got at one of the train shows. We were passing by the Train World booth juggling a bunch of stuff, and the guy was like, "Do you guys want a bag?" And they've done this before. Train World's always very eager to give stuff out. I even got a free hat from them as well. I think I wore this in a couple of videos. But they gave us a bag, and it was the thinnest paper I've ever seen on a bag. It tore out almost immediately. So we ended up putting it inside a different bag. But when I was looking for something white to use as a background, I saw the Train World bag, and I was like, yeah, you know what, that'll work. The 2662. Oh yeah, I should dig that out. Yeah, I can run that. Yeah, those Train World bags, they're such thin paper. I don't know why they even bother making them if they're going to be so thin that they can't actually hold anything. But at least now they've been immortalized in a stupid comedy joke skit in a YouTube video. Heavy tanker, it's actually not a Mantua, it's an old brass one. I think it's Northwest Shortline. I've had a couple of the Mantua ones, and they're not really up to Mantua's usual standards of quality. The mechanism's okay, but the shells are just really flimsy, and they crack and fall off all the time. And I've always had trouble getting them to run smoothly. What they are is an excellent source of Walschaerts valve gear if you're building a Mantua Prairie kit, which is what I did there. Alright, where is it?
I don't run this much. I mostly keep it because it's a memento. It was given to me by a friend who had since passed on, so it's kind of a memento of him. But people on the live stream seem to like it. It's a very old Northwest Shortline brass model. Chase, the diesels in the Sierra 3 video, I've got a couple of them on the shelf up here. None of them are really operable right now. I guess the BL2 technically is. The BL2 is one of the old Proto 2000 ones with the Athearn style motors. So it runs, but it's kind of noisy and it's not DCC. The RS11 is a really nice Atlas one that's waiting on a sound decoder. The GP9 was just a cheapo Walthers one that I'm pretty sure I stole some parts off of to fix a different Walthers one. Tristan, this is an old Northwest Shortline brass logger. It was given to me by a friend from California who is sadly no longer with us. It's a little bit smaller than a Mantua one. I did put a can motor in it, but other than that, I think it's pretty much unmodified. There is a little bit of gear noise, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was with the old open frame motor. Hello, Cool Luke. Current dinner, baked possum smoke. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. There are a lot of foods in there that I have never tried, but they sound good. Yeah, I've got Sheriff over by the station. Just in case any delinquent road hazards go by. I do want to build an N-scale. Well, I have a half-built N-scale layout in the basement, but I'm thinking I might just sell it or give it away. Because I had big plans for it, but the grades are so steep that it's hard to get anything to actually run on it, pulling more than a couple of cars. So I might just give that one away or sell it and start over from scratch. James, not really a whole lot of requirements. Just be nice to people, try to keep it on the topic of trains.
I don't know what the IHC 482 is based on. It might be a mix of prototypes. I should get more Cars characters. I try to keep the movie and TV references on here fairly subtle, so like you wouldn't notice them at first sight. That's why, well, I do have the TARDIS pretty obvious right there. But like, I do have another Doctor Who reference in the name of the boat. Obviously, I've got the Sheriff, although I usually have him facing the other direction, so you can't tell. Strasbourg 90, no, this is an old Northwest Shortline brass one. It's a little bit smaller and more detailed than the Mantua. Train Street, I think I talked to that guy, and... or maybe I didn't. I can't remember. I talked to someone who I thought might want it, and he said he didn't want it. Oh, it's not giving you the option to post, James? That's weird. Are you logged in? I don't know why it wouldn't give you the option to post. Maybe... I think the only requirement is that you have to be subscribed, but I assume you already are. Thank you, Gus. I'm glad you like it. Every now and then I think about, like, starting over with a new HO layout, but this one just kind of continues to work and fulfill my needs. If I built a second one, it would have to be in addition to this one rather than replacing it. Or just expand this one, but I like it. It's kind of small and self-contained, and it just works. You are logged in. That is weird, James. Let me see if there's any requirements that I need to set. Because I don't think I messed with that. Let's see. Community moderation. Viewer posts are on. You have to be subscribed for a day. Oh, it doesn't let you post comments with links. It holds those for review. Channel guidelines. Yeah, I haven't added any guidelines. There shouldn't be any restrictions on it. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, James. Community tab, it can be anything interesting that's related to trains and specifically model trains. But honestly, cars, helicopters, planes... Yeah, Tristan, I'll send you some pics in the group chat. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty loose. Just be nice to people and try to keep it loosely on the topic of trains and vehicles and transport in general. I'd say maybe no military stuff, because that's a whole separate ballgame. Hello, Ricardo. I might swap this out for a different locomotive. CC Studios, I'm kind of reconsidering my plan for that. I'm thinking the G-Scale layout might end up being indoors in the basement instead. Because there's just not enough days out of the year where the weather is in a temperature range that I find comfortable for it to be worth it. Yeah, Chase, that's a really good idea. I went through a number of RC planes that I pretty much totaled on the first flight, and then I got a simulator, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what you need to practice. And then I was actually able to have a few successful flights. Keep Atomic Train's last stream Ford plane. It's still a vehicle. It's still transport related. I'd say that falls within the purview of what I would consider appropriate topics. All right, have a good one, Antony. Thanks for stopping by. Hell yeah, Gilded Rail. Sounds like a good time.
Alright, what should we run next? Let's run the Rivarossi 440. Oh, nice chassis. Ricardo, a Mallet is a type of articulated engine. Mallets generally have a compound cylinder setup, so the steam goes through the rear cylinder first, and then the exhaust of those powers the front cylinders. So the front cylinders are larger because they need to be able to use lower steam pressure. Let me see actually if it's visible on here. Yeah. So you can see the front cylinders are quite a bit bigger and beefier than the rears because the steam goes into the rears and then the exhaust pressure from that powers the fronts. Whereas a regular articulated engine that isn't a Mallet, all four cylinders are the same size and the steam goes directly to them from the boiler. So like a Big Boy or a Challenger, those are not Mallets, but they are articulated. So those use high pressure steam straight from the boiler in all the cylinders, so they're all the same size. Regular articulated ones tend to be faster and more powerful, but the Mallets are a bit more fuel efficient. They're just very slow. That is really weird, James. I unfortunately don't know what to do about that, because I can't replicate the issue on my end. That might be an issue that you'd have to go through YouTube technical support. Crazy Spud, the Heisler does run, it's just very noisy because it's an old Rivarossi. Chase, I actually am not sure. I have no idea where I got the Sheriff from. I just found him in a box of train parts one day. It just says copyright Disney Pixar on the bottom. It is all plastic. It feels like pretty much solid plastic. It's kind of this soft rubbery plastic. I don't think it is a custom paint because it does say Disney Pixar on it. But yeah, it looks like it's made up of two pieces. There's like a chassis piece. The wheels don't roll. They're just solid. Yeah, I got no clue. Crazy Spud, when people say Mallet, they're generally referring to a compound engine. If it's an articulated and not a Mallet, then they just call it an articulated. Yes, Ricardo, I have been following the news on the new Bachmann 460. Not a whole lot of info yet. I have heard rumors that it will be a different prototype than the N-scale one, so the illustrations that they released are just from the N-scale one, so those may not be exactly what it looks like, but I'm very excited for it either way. The Santa Fe Alco, it runs, it just doesn't have sound in it. It's one of those things that I'm getting around to putting sound in eventually. Robert, I might eventually. I tend to focus more on the fairly modern stuff in O-scale because I like it to be scale-sized. I think the oldest O-scale locomotive that I have is this Lionel Mikado from the early 90s. But yeah, I'd do a video on some post-war stuff if I came across it. Favorite locomotive of all time? That's a really hard choice to make. I like Nevada Northern 40, I like California Western 45. If I'm honest, it'd probably be one of those two. Gus Hadley, the 440 is an AHM, but it's heavily modified.
I actually took the motor out of the tender and managed to squeeze a motor into the boiler. I have a video about it that covers the whole process and has some pictures of the inside. It was a very in-depth project. I ended up having to scratch build most of the mechanism. So it's not something I would recommend embarking on, but I am pretty happy with the end result. It does run very smooth. If I added to this current layout, what would I add? Probably a branch line going along the wall over the couches over here. Past, like, where it'd have to go across that window. But I always thought it would be cool to do, like, a logging line with switchbacks going up the wall. Oh yeah, James. Josh is right. Try resetting or restarting your computer or phone. Hello, Supersonic. No worries. Stream's still going. It'll probably go for at least another half hour, maybe another hour. Yeah, James, if you want to see that 4501 run, check out my recent O-Gauge stream. You should be able to watch the replay of it. Smallest HO layout that could run most Steam? Well, most... depends on the definition of most. This is 18-inch radius curves, which will run anything up to about... maybe a 282 is probably the biggest thing you could squeeze around these curves. So you could literally just do a circle of this track. And that would be about a square about 40 inches on a side, or I guess a 40-inch outside diameter circle. That would be the theoretical smallest one, but I don't think you'd get a whole lot of entertainment value out of that. So I'd say realistically probably like a 4x6-ish. Yeah, Tristan's not a diehard NYC fan, he's just a fan of everything except the Pensy. Yeah, Guildrail, that's the idea, is to be a spot to run the Heisler, basically. I'm probably not going to get another Shay, because trying to work on that thing is a nightmare. But the River Odyssey Heisler is actually surprisingly rugged. I would think I would enjoy running that on some logging switchbacks. And it would give me an excuse to use that KD logging caboose. Yeah, the Pennsylvania is an odd railroad. I have always had kind of a love-hate relationship with it, because some of the stuff that they had was really cool, and some of the stuff that they had was really dumb. Like, obviously they had some iconic passenger trains, they had some iconic streamlined engines, they have some iconic locations, and some really cool paint schemes. But at the same time, they have this weird habit of insisting on doing everything differently from everybody else for no real reason. Like, why did they put Belpaire fireboxes on everything? Why did they have different words for half of the standard railroad terms? Why did they run double headers on passenger trains all the time? Like, it's not necessarily bad, but... and they did have, like, some really cool engines. Like, the S1 experimental engine is really cool. But they just seem to be, like, kind of... For a company that called themselves the standard railroad of the world, they really kind of didn't adhere to the same standards as anyone else did, and that's always been weird to me. I have heard people say the Pennsylvania was the standard railroad, everyone else was deluxe, which I thought was funny. I don't know. I have no particular horse in this race. I have a lot of Pensy stuff that I like, and I have a lot of New York Central stuff that I like, so I don't like taking sides in fairly arbitrary debates like this. Like I've always been a Ford fan, but there are some cool Chevys as well that I can appreciate without having to have a disclaimer over it. I'm not a big fan of brand loyalty. I think if the product is good, it should be able to stand on its own, regardless of whose name is on it. But the Pennsy was a very widespread railroad in the U.S. and a very active railroad during the steam and transition eras. So it's pretty hard to model American railroads without at some point running across Pennsy stuff. It's like the Union Pacific or the New York Central or the Santa Fe. It's just one of those railroads that were so big that you really just kind of can't avoid it. Little River 110, that's the little tiny Pacific, isn't it? That thing's so cool. I want so badly to have a model of that, but nobody makes anything close. It's like a Pacific version of those little logging Mikados. It's adorable. Yep, Austinism, that's the same one that I was thinking of. Okay, Crazy Spud, I'll check the community tab. Yeah, New York Central did seem very futuristic. The only thing I don't love about New York Central is their paint schemes are always kind of very monotone. It's all just gray. I like the Pennsy with their sort of throwback, almost 19th century maroon and green with lots of striping. Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, Grand Trunk is cool too, Crazy Spud. I mean, I don't think I really have a railroad that I actively dislike. If anything, it would be the Union Pacific, just because it's so oversaturated in the model market. Like, oh my god, we get it already. Union Pacific this, Union Pacific that, Union Pacific everything. And I've just never found it to be... Like, I like kind of small, quirky railroads. The Union Pacific's too much of a corporate monolith for me to really find it interesting. That said, obviously the big boys are iconic. Last of the Giants is an iconic railroad film. Like, that era of Union Pacific was really cool, but Union Pacific in general, like, it's just too much of a corporate juggernaut. It feels kind of soulless now. Tristan, I don't know where Peter is. Chase, oh, it might be from a board game. That's actually a good thought. I hadn't thought of that, but it does kind of feel like a board game piece. I didn't know there was a Cars board game. Yeah, Chessie, I agree with that. Like, I feel like it's not so much hatred, it's more kind of friendly ribbing with the New York Central versus PRR stuff. But at the same time, like, why does it have to be a competition? Like, you can prefer one over the other, but they both did some cool stuff. Like, if I had to choose, I'd probably choose New York Central, but I don't want to have to choose one or the other. Yeah, modern UP sucks. But honestly, modern everything I've just never found to be that interesting. B&O paint schemes are cool. Yeah, I mean, if they did have trouble working together. I feel like it would be like if Ford bought GM or the other way around. Like, if I had to choose Pennsy or New York Central, I'd choose New York Central. If I had to choose Ford or Chevy, I'd choose Ford. But I don't want to have to choose. Because in both cases, they both have cool stuff. Like, Mustangs have always been, like, my favorite car. But, like, the first-gen Camaros are a damn cool piece of machinery. They're gorgeous. Corvettes are iconic, obviously. I love the C6 Corvette. Probably one of the best modern American sports cars. Dodge is cool as well. I always liked the modern-ish Challengers, the like 2008 to 23 ones. That was a really well done retro design. Obviously the old Mopars from the 60s and 70s. I'm particularly partial to the 70 through 74 Plymouth Cudas. Those are super cool. Did I swear? What did I say? I try not to swear in the videos because I know a lot of kids watch them, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, exactly, Crazy Spud. Like, I've never really been able to work that much excitement up out over any of the really big railroads, because they all just seem too corporate, too faceless. I like the weird, quirky little ones. Yeah, James, I'll try and remember to get some pictures of the N-scale layout and post those. Supersonic, I think Tristan would probably agree with you there. Little railroads like British railways. Yeah. I feel like one of the reasons I've never really got into British trains, because especially like post-British railways, it's literally there aren't really any little independent short lines. CC Studios, Lionel did a Toy Story 3 set, and MTH is doing an O-gauge Back to the Future 3 locomotive paint scheme. At least it's not a terribly accurate locomotive for it, but they're at least doing the paint scheme. James, where are you at? If you're in central Massachusetts, you can see it in person. Thank you, Gus. Yeah, I installed that. It's a Soundtrax decoder with a Sugar Cube speaker. Yeah, small railroad in the Midwest is really cool. I love weird, quirky little short lines. Actually, Chessie, you know, if we were going to truly do a Jimothy locomotive, I feel like it should be a Norfolk and Western J class, shortened down to like a 242. Oh, Hornby T9. I don't know much about Hornby trains. Like, I've taken a couple of them apart, and they seem to be built similar to most HO models, but I don't know much about, like, the different product lines or the history of them or anything like that. CC Studios, the Rio Grande one, the Athearn one, I would say quality-wise it's about on par with the Bachmann. They both have quirks, but they have different quirks. The Bachmann one that I had before, the Union Pacific one, I sold to my friend Peter. He's going to turn it into a New York Central engine, I think. Or wait, no, that was a different engine that I sold him. What did I do with the UP one? Oh no, I used parts from that to fix this Southern one. So most of the internals from that are now in this. Hornby did do a Toy Story set, but it was terrible. The Lionel one was much better. Okay, James, yeah, let me know when you're in the area, and I'll let you know if the N-scale layout's still available. Yeah, Supersonic, most of the Thomas stuff was British-based. I know Thomas was an LBSR A2. I don't remember what LBSR stands for. I know Gordon's a Gresley A1 or A0. I don't know most of the others. I know a lot of people claim that Henry's a Black 5, even though I don't really think he looks that much like one. A G-scale layout. I feel like I'd want to go for like kind of a slightly whimsical interpretation of Colorado narrow gauge. I feel like that's the vibe I want to do. Like a fictional, maybe like a fictional branch of the Denver and Rio Grande. I like modeling fictional stuff because then I have a lot of leeway to do whatever I want. London, Brighton, and South Coast? Okay, that makes sense. West Erie Shortline. Oh, an SW7, those are neat. Yeah, that'd be cool. Oh, in the books he looks like a Black 5. Okay, that makes sense, because in the TV show, he always kind of looked to me like a Pacific that was missing the trailing truck. But they must not have stuck exactly to the book drawings. I've never really read the books. Antone, I've got a few G-scale engines. I've got an LGB Mogul, a couple of Buckman big haulers, a couple of Heartland Locomotive Works engines, a 440 and a 260. The 260 is actually kind of hard to find. I was lucky I was able to score it. It's kind of a quirky model. The gearbox isn't the best, but I really like it. Let me pull it up here.
I don't think they made very many of these because the company shut down not that long after they introduced them. The boiler's the same as the 440, the cab's the same as the 440. Honestly, a lot of it's the same as the 440. They just made a new chassis. It's sort of like a vaguely Glenbrook-shaped chassis, but with an extended smoke box. But it's a neat little engine. It doesn't pull terribly well, but it runs smooth-ish. It runs fine. I just think it's adorable. I will do whatever it takes to make this a usable runner because I love how it looks.
Oh, you did get it to work. Excellent, James. I'm glad you managed to fix that, because I have no idea what the problem was. Oh, I forgot about Spencer. See, that's getting into, like, I really don't know a whole lot about Thomas stuff. I know, like, the basics of some of the characters. I've watched a handful of episodes, but I don't know the deep lore. I know in the later CGI TV series, they just kept adding characters based on random engines, and they got a bit confusing. Oh, they used the same chassis as Gordon. Okay, that makes sense. That's why he looks like a Pacific missing the rear wheels, because that's what he is. No, CC Studios. I haven't never really collected any Thomas stuff. It just doesn't really interest me that much. Yeah, I guess. I did install DCC No Gauge. I have a video about that. I'm surprised it isn't more of a mainstream thing, because it works great. But the only O-Gauge locomotives out of the box that are able to run on it without needing anything installed are the MTH Protosound 3 ones. Everybody else is still stuck with their proprietary stuff. But DCC is... I like universal standards. I don't like the proprietary stuff, and DCC just works better. Luis, yeah, there's... I have a video. I think it's called The Case for DCC and O-Gauge. You should be able to find it on my channel. Jimothy Gordon. That would be funny. Jimothy Thomas is just that little Hornby 040 that everybody has. DCC versus Lion Chief. I mean, Lion Chief is good for like a basic train set where you don't want to have to set up a whole system. You can just put it on the track, have a remote that's paired to that specific engine, and then it's always going to work no matter what the track power is like. But if you want to do any sort of customization, any sort of fine-tuning, if you want to install your own electronics and stuff, you want to have custom sounds, or even just be able to select sounds, DCC is so much better. Lion Chief works decently well for what it is, but what it is very limited. Rebecca. Let me look that up. I have a vague memory of that character, but I don't remember the prototype. Oh, what's it called? The Bullied Pacifics. Yeah, those like weird streamlined ones. Yeah, West Country and Battle of Britain. I don't know specifically which one Rebecca is, but yeah, I remember reading about those. They had a really weird valve gear setup that apparently would occasionally cause the engine to basically do a burnout. Sierra 3 and Thomas and Friends, I'm surprised they haven't done that, honestly. It would make sense for there to be like maybe like an American movie star character based on Sierra 3. I'm sure they'll get around to that. Chain valve gear, yeah, that's what it was. There was slack in the chain, so sometimes like when it picked up the slack suddenly, it would like spin the wheels and throw flames out of the stack. SBR. Yeah, I mean, if you have both systems, you can run pretty much anything out of the box. I just didn't have a lot of money to spend, and I prefer everything sticking to a universal standard and being able to customize everything, and I don't mind doing wiring work on my engines, so DCC was kind of more of a logical choice for me. Several minutes to get... Jeez. Dang, I'm glad I didn't get one. Any preserved FM H1644? I don't know. I have not looked into that. I know there's an H1044 at the Illinois Railway Museum. Connor. I don't remember Connor. Oh, is Connor supposed to be a Dreyfuss Hudson? I think he is supposed to be, and then Connor and Caitlin. I don't know what Caitlin's supposed to be. Maybe the Pensy Torpedo or something like that. Yeah. I feel like the sort of the vertical fin on the front of the Dreyfuss Hudson is such an iconic part of how it looks that if you put a face on there, it's not even really that recognizable anymore. Oh, you can't even change the sounds. I know even with the older unit, changing the sounds on MTH engines is a royal pain. I don't know. I like TCS WoW Sound and Soundtrack Tsunami or Blue Nami. I would rather standardize on that than get stuck with a proprietary system. Oh, B&O P7. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one either. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, you can recognize the boiler on the Dreyfuss, but it's much less immediately like, oh, that's a Dreyfuss Hudson if it doesn't have like the front fin. Like even the Empire State Express version is still a really good looking engine, but when I first saw it, it took me a minute to register that it was just a Dreyfuss Hudson without the fin on the front, because that's like the most distinctive part of the shape of that engine. Ooh, a layout room in a boxcar. That'd be super cool. That's a great idea. I always thought it'd be cool to build like an RV with a train layout in it and have like a traveling train display. Well, it seems like things are winding down a little bit on the stream. I'm thinking it's getting to be close to 11. Maybe I'll think about wrapping it up pretty soon. Oh, MTH did that. See, I wasn't around for that. It was before my time. Yeah, Supersonic. Emily's definitely a Sterling Signal. I've forgotten how to speak English. Sterling Single. That's going to be so awesome, Crazy Spud. I'd love to see pictures of that if you feel like posting them in the community. I feel like that's the dream as far as layouts go, is to build it inside an actual railcar. I have seen the suitcase layout. I saw at a train show in Canada one time, I saw somebody built a TT scale switching layout in a guitar case. That was pretty neat. Just a random TF2 guy. Yeah, the cheapo lifelike ones were really common. They were sold for so long and they were so cheap that I think pretty much everyone had one at some point. How to hide a helix on a layout set in Kansas? Can you go through the wall and hide it in another room?
Alright, I'm gonna say let's run one more train and then I'll wrap it up. I'm thinking maybe the Prairie. Let me back this in here. I'm just going to leave the engine on the siding there. But I haven't run this in a while. I still need to make a video about it. But I have other more immediate priorities. What am I missing? I can't believe how well I got this thing to run. Honestly, this engine's almost has a little bit of a Jimothy look to it. It is very short. What is a Prairie if not just a Jimothy Mikado? Just a random TF2 guy, fair warning, those old lifelike ones do not run that well. If it's got the pancake motor, it's going to be very loud at best and very difficult to get working at worst. They don't pull very well, they don't pick up very well, they don't run well at low speed, they don't run smoothly at any speed. If you want an F40, I would recommend getting like a Proto 2001 or something, if they even made one, or any other brand. Yeah, Prairies will always be frame-shaped. I do like them a lot. Yeah, the Bachmann one is just a USRA 060 with extra parts tacked on. This one looks much more. Supersonic, I'll have to look it up to be sure. I thought Rosie was a US Army 060T. Like the Granite Rock one. I may be wrong about that, though. Have a good one, James. Yeah, and Tone, I do want to do that at some point. I mean, I can run it with the lights out with just the locomotive light. There's the train. There we go. But you can't really see much. And the camera won't focus. Oh, and there's my Back to the Future video. Oh, that's a neat idea, Robert, yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought Model Rail Fan. Rosie's an S100. I couldn't remember what the name of those was, but... I know the valve gear is not accurate, but I'm pretty sure that that is the basis of the character design. I love that, like Jimothy is now transcended the raccoon, and it's now just a term for a shorter version of something. Just around TF2 guy, the Walthers GP9 is much, much better than the Lifelike, than any of the old Lifelike stuff. It actually has a halfway decent motor in it. Gilded Rail, yeah. I'm doing pretty good with the model train streams. I've been kind of putting off doing Railroader because these are going so well. But once the MOW update is out, we should get around to doing that. TF2 guy, no, unfortunately I sold that. I actually sold it to Ricardo, who was in the chat earlier. He still got it. Jimothy's a fun name for it, yeah. Peter and I have been calling this engine the Nugget. I don't remember why. We had a reason, but it does have kind of has Jimothy energy. Have a good one, Josh Cannon. Thanks for hanging out. I'm probably gonna. Oop. We've run out of video. Yeah, I might call the stream done pretty soon, honestly. I'm getting a bit tired. Haven't been sleeping well because I found out there's mice living in the ceiling and I can hear them running around up there. $60 would be great for anything after Genesis, assuming it runs. Westport and Shelter Cove Railroad 16. I don't know, maybe another IHC Mogul? I had a 15 that was an IHC Mogul. It'd have to be something from like the 1910-ish period. Yeah, Stevenson was Stevenson's rocket. Or Steven was Stevenson's rocket. Yeah, a lot of G-scale stuff fits the Jimothy description. I don't know if you were here earlier when I was looking at that LGB one.
It's like a 240 based on a USRA Mikado that's shortened so much. Let me find it again. This thing. Yeah, this is the ultimate Jimothy train. Yeah, Chessie, we've got an exterminator coming in tomorrow to take a look at the the mouse situation. It's hard to reach because they're inside the ceiling, but I can definitely hear them. So we're gonna have a professional take care of it. If I could find an HO scale Stephenson's rocket that would actually run, that would be cool. Yeah, a lot of O scale stuff. That is a design choice. Yep, that's pretty much how I feel about it. They're like, what can we make that looks like a big American engine but can run on the sharpest curve in the known universe? And this is what they came up with. If I ever get one of these, I'm naming it Jimothy, but I probably won't. Because, frankly, it doesn't look like anything that exists. Even that one at the museum in Montreal isn't quite this much of a Jimothy. It's an 040 or a 240. It's supposed to be a 240, but I think in this case the pilot truck is missing. Because it would normally be a 240. But yeah, it's supposed to look like a generic big American steam engine. But it's the most Jimothy thing imaginable. And they made these for a long time. They did a bunch of paint schemes. They did a southern one. Yeah, Robert, probably. There's 3 bugs in your bed? Wow. I mean, if it was only 2, then that's one thing. But 3 is a whole different ballgame. Catch them in a glass. That's attractive Everett of 2, yeah. I mean, it's got traction tires, so I think they do pull decently. If I had the budget to get a locomotive as a joke, this would be it, but I don't. This, I think, is the one we were looking at earlier. Even the tender is Jimothy. To their credit, these do run... Holy cow, $40 shipping. These do run on very, very sharp curves. But at the cost of looking like a cartoon. The new 460s from Bachmann do look really promising. I'm probably going to get one, but I'm holding off final decision until I see an actual photo of the model. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to get one. Prairie number 22? Yeah, 2 bugs isn't... Well, it's 1 bug better than 3. Yeah, 6-foot curves are better. I would say 5 foot is probably the practical minimum for G-scale. I know all the train sets come with 4 foot, but it's just so sharp. Even 5 foot feels like a breath of fresh air in comparison. A 222. I've seen a 222 in person. Hold on a second. Yeah, I've seen this in person. It's adorable. That is a genuine 222. The Aristocraft 040. So the Aristocraft 040 is Jimothy'd a little bit, but it's actually based on a real locomotive that is kind of a real-life Jimothy. It's based on the Pennsylvania A5, which is probably about as Jimothy as real locomotives get. Like, it doesn't get a whole lot more Jimothy than that. I really want to get one of these in O-gauge one of these days. MTH made a really nice one. These were actually pretty widespread switchers on the Pensy. I mean, obviously Tristan's going to give me a hard time because it's Pensy, but they're so cool. I mean, look at this thing. It's just adorable. American 242s, there were a couple, but they were very rare. I'll try to find one. I am going to end the stream pretty soon. That's not the one I was thinking of. Here we go. I gotta move the chat back over to this side now. But yeah, that was one of the very few American 242s. It even has a British style tender. Pretty sure that text does not belong to this picture. Chessie, I believe they've been made in brass in HO. Yeah, I guess it's the A5 is basically a shorter version of the B6. But they are really cute. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up momentarily. Have a good one, Crazy Spud. Onion Pacific, yep. Yep. So many funny things have been littered Onion Pacific. I have seen the Black Bonnet one in O-Gauge Supersonic. I'm going to avoid looking that up for the sake of preserving everyone's sanity. I do kind of want to Photoshop a Jimothy version of a Norfolk and Western J class. That's like a 242 or something, or 444. Oh, bummer, TF2 guy. Thankfully, there's a lot of those floating around, so you'll definitely find another one. Chessie, I like to combine both Onion Pathetic. Oh, the Lionel, or was it Lionel or MTH? Somebody made the Santa Fe 210-10-2 bendy boiler engine, but they painted it in a version of their, like, the War Bonnet passenger scheme. But it was the version with black instead of silver based on a Lionel catalog illustration that was never produced. So it's like a turducken of cursed paint schemes. Oh, thanks for joining us, Gus. Hopefully they'll return next week. I do this every Tuesday at 9 p.m., except when I don't, but I try to do it every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Anyway, folks, I think I'm going to call it a night. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for bantering. We will be back at the same place at the same time next week. Yeah, thanks for watching. Eat your vegetables, look both ways before you cross the street. And don't stick your head in the microwave. Good night.